Hey, millionaire. Winning the lottery is pretty unbelievable, but sometimes that comes with some other pretty weird things. We've scoured the internet for the best of these unusual stories. These lottery stories really prove that truth is crazier than fiction. You won't believe the story that took our #1 spot, but we promise it's absolutely true. Are you ready for a deep dive into these strange lottery stories? Then let's get right into it. Number 6. Gilbert Arenas and the Kind-Hearted Homeless Man. In case you didn't know, Gilbert Arenas is a 3-time NBA All-Star. Even though he earned more than $160 million over his career, he still loves playing the lottery. He plays the same numbers at the same gas station every time. But on this particular day, he was running late. He had just 8 minutes to get to his favorite gas station store before it closed, and he had no gas in his tank. He made a quick stop at another gas station to fill up with the only $10 he had in his car. But while he was at the gas station, a homeless man came up to Arenas to ask if he could spare any change. Arenas explained the situation and said he'd give the man $5 so he'd still have $5 left for gas. But the man refused to take it. He said he didn't think $5 worth of gas was enough for Arenas to get where he wanted to go. Instead, he told Arenas to keep the 10, play the lottery, and bring him $20 when he wins. The man was certain Arenas would win that night and insisted on the deal. Arenas thanked him and drove off. But when he arrived at the other gas station, it was already closed. So he went back home and didn't think much about what had happened. The next morning, he received a text saying he'd won $300,000. He wasn't able to buy his ticket, so immediately he thought it was a scam. Still, he drove over to his favorite gas station again to play for the next draw. He was shocked when he was greeted by the owner, who came running out of the store shouting, "You won!" Obviously, Arenas was pretty confused. It turned out the store owner had closed his shop early the day before and knew Arenas was going to miss out on a huge jackpot opportunity. So, because he knew the numbers Arenas played every time, he just bought a ticket for him. He'd been the one who texted Arenas about his $300,000 win, and now everything made sense. Immediately, Arenas thought about the homeless man. He was right. Arenas had won just like he said, and he immediately drove back to look for the man to honor their agreement in a much bigger way. And although he didn't reveal how much he gifted to the kind-hearted man who refused to take his $5, we can bet it was a life-changing amount. What do you think was the amount if you won $300,000? Let us know in the comments. Number 5. James and Bob Stockless. Do you know someone who won the lottery? Most people will say no. That's because it's not that common, or we'd all be rich. But that's exactly why the story is so interesting. James and Bob Stockless are 2 brothers from Pennsylvania who enjoy doing activities together, including buying lottery tickets. They were on a fishing trip together in the Florida Keys when they decided to pick up $10 worth of lottery tickets while out buying ice. After the trip, James was out having breakfast with his old friend Anna at their favorite diner when he finally checked his ticket. It didn't take Anna long to work out why James suddenly jumped to his feet and started shouting excitedly. He'd actually won. It wasn't a record-breaking jackpot, but it was no small win either. He was the only recipient of a $291 million jackpot. He immediately paid for breakfast for everyone in the diner to celebrate. But unbelievably, he wasn't the only winner in the family. His brother Bob had won too. He was the recipient of a grand total of $7. Luckily, everyone can laugh about it, because even though sibling rivalry would have made a great story, James is a pretty generous guy. He didn't only split the money with his brother and 2 adult children, he actually split the prize equally with 2 friends as well, including Anna, who was with him at the diner. Number 4. Aura Dominguez Canto. Aura Dominguez Canto was a 60-year-old from Panama, living a life many of us could probably sympathize with. She was supposed to be retired, but times were tough, so she had to keep working to help support her kids. One day, she happened to see a news story about Jane Park, a 17-year-old Scottish girl who won £1 million British thanks to the Euro Millions lottery. This story sparked Aura's interest. A win like that could change her life and her children's lives for the better. But there are no lotteries in Panama with jackpots that big, so Aura started researching how she could play for a life-changing lottery jackpot. She eventually found The Lotter, a safe way to play the lottery online from all over the world. If you haven't tried it, check out the link in the description. Aura devised a plan that she thought would give her a chance. She was going to play every draw of the Florida lottery for a whole month, using the same set of numbers every time. But 29 days into her 30-day plan, things weren't looking good for Aura. It was starting to seem like she'd spent all her hard-earned cash on lottery tickets for nothing. You got to admire her persistence, because she still played one more time. And it's a good thing she did. On her last day of playing, she actually hit the jackpot. Suddenly, she went from working through retirement to being the sole winner of a $30 million jackpot. Do you have a lottery strategy? Tell us in the comments, and keep watching. The stories only get crazier from here. Number 3. Adam Osmond. Not all lottery stories involve a win, but this one still deserves to be on the list because it is pretty amazing. Adam Osmond was the holder of a degree in business. It was serving him pretty well because the small convenience store Adam opened was growing in profit every year. Unfortunately, there was one thing stopping Adam from feeling those rewards: a serious lottery addiction. Adam had always played the lottery, but not very seriously. It was one ticket here and there, just a couple of dollars spent. But the more money he made, the more he started to spend on lottery tickets. It almost seemed worth it at one point, because Adam did win $50,000, which would have been great if only he'd stopped there. But he didn't. And being the owner of a convenience store was actually making it worse. It turns out that having such easy access to a lottery machine isn't a good thing for someone with a lottery addiction. Sure, it sounds obvious when you say it like that, but to Adam, it was like having his own private casino in his store, and he was spending thousands of dollars every week without anyone knowing. This problem all boiled over one day in 2008. Adam suffered a nervous breakdown, and he started printing off tickets at a rapid pace. Soon, he had 54,000 of them, and because there were so many, he wasn't even checking the numbers anymore. But where was he getting the money? Well, he wasn't. He didn't pay for a single one. You can almost believe it was a cry for help, and sure enough, he soon had lottery officials knocking on his door and shutting down his machine. Only then did his family and friends learn of his problem, but it was too late. He'd collected 250 grand worth of tickets that he needed to pay for. He had to close his shop, and he was slowly paying off the shocking amount of money he owed the lottery when the courts decided he didn't have to pay anymore, because he never cashed in the tickets. It was a small mercy, but it helped a lot. Adam started running to deal with his addiction and has completed several marathons. Even better, he now campaigns to help people suffering from addiction like him. So at least the story has a happy ending. Number 2. The anonymous Australian nurse. You'd probably have some idea of what you'd do if you won big. Whatever your answer is, it's not what this Australian nurse did. In January 2019, she became the historical recipient of Australia's largest ever jackpot awarded to just one person, taking home 107 million Australian dollars. That's no small sum. At about 79.6 US, it's more than enough to do anything you want. So what did she do? Well, she went back to work. I know, it's incredible. The first thing most of us would do is quit. But she said she loved her job and decided she wanted to keep working, so she did. Apparently, everyone was shocked, but she's still very happy. She said she loves that she can now buy any book she wants, and she can regularly have flowers in her home. I guess it's all about doing what makes you happy, even if that seems weird to others. What's the first thing you'd do if you won a huge jackpot? Tell us in the comments. And finally, number 1. Oksana Zaharov. Oksana Zaharov was an ordinary 46-year-old mother of 2 who had ordinary everyday things happen to her, like a store clerk accidentally handing her the wrong lottery ticket. That sort of thing happens all the time, and nothing comes of it. She'd asked the clerk for a $1 scratch-off ticket, but he handed her a $10 set-for-life scratch ticket by mistake. She felt bad for the clerk, so she paid the full $10. It was a small act of kindness, but it was also the best decision she'd ever make. She didn't know that, though, so the ticket stayed in her purse, untouched, for 2 weeks. It might have stayed like that forever, but luckily, Oksana eventually remembered she had it and gave it a scratch. She couldn't believe her eyes. She'd won $5 million from a ticket she didn't want in the first place. She is guaranteed the $5 million payout over the next 20 years and further 172,000 annual payments for the rest of her life. She said she would like a holiday with her kids in the Bahamas. More importantly, she's excited that her kids can now get a college education without taking out a loan. That seems like a great way to spend the money.